Okay. Testing, one, two, testing, testing, one, two, testing. All right. All right. All right. Good evening. Good night. Good morning to those who are now joining this, the GMS Live, Voice of Democracy, the GMS Live Radio Guyana. Good evening, good morning, good night, good afternoon to those who are joining us from locally here in Guyana, the Caribbean, and around the world in the diaspora. Welcome you all tonight. I must apologize for this late start, but it's rather late than ever. I had some problems hooking up the software so I can get started. But as usual, these things do happen from time to time. Uh, Let me get straight into it. Tonight's topic is say no to slavery. That's tonight's topic, say no to slavery. And the reason why I choose this topic because it's kind of like bothering me from time to time, and I must have something to say on it. And in order for me to say on that, I must expound upon, hold on. Yes, I must expound upon why you must say no to slavery. So let me get at it so persons could understand what is it that I am saying and helping you to understand that. Uh, Let me read a quote. I want to help persons to know exactly what am I talking about tonight. So let me read a quote. It says, "We cannot continue to send our children to Caesar for their education and be surprised when they come home as Romans." We cannot, as I must say, we cannot continue to send our children to Caesar for their education and be surprised when they come home as Romans. Let me make it absolutely clear to those who would normally turn and feed on the Gavin Matthews show and be able to be educated. And I want to make it absolutely clear with no apologies. I am not going to rescind upon any statements that I have made, and I am not going to rescind upon any statements that I would make tonight. Hold on, fix this. Let's say glasses properly so people can hear me when I speak and I can see the response. We cannot continue to send our children to Caesar for their education and be surprised when they come home as Romans. I am who I am. I am Gavin Matthews. When I started up this show, It is because I have seen a people, which is Black Guyanese, and I would like to properly educate you tonight upon who I am and what I stand for. So people can't call me a racist when I'm finished explaining who I am tonight. I represent Black Guyanese. Let me be very clear. I represent Afro Guyanese. I represent the Negro Guyanese. I represent those who look like me. I try to give a voice to those who are oppressed, marginalized, being racially trodden upon, murdered, mayhem, and terror. I represent those people who have suffered these things that I'm talking about tonight, which is Black Guyanese. I make no apologies about it. And I not only represent them, I speak for them because I say we have to be economically strong. If we are Guyanese, we are part of the constitutional system that preaches and teaches democracy. We do not want to be at the bottom scale of the ladder. We want to be side by side of each other. Black Guyanese. We want to be given the opportunity to speak with a loud voice and represent ourselves at that economical table. We want to be strong in political issues, economical issues, constitutional issues that represent Guyana. We don't want someone else to speak for us as Black Guyanese. To identify ourselves and to stand strong with identity is not being racial. It was never woven or carved in our DNA to be racial. We were enslaved for more than 600 years. It is impossible for people to be enslaved to become racial. We do not have the resources to be racial. You have to have the resources to become racial. You have to have money and power. We do not have that. Now we have awoken and see the light and realize that power resides within the mind of the people that vote for those who they want to represent them. So we seek thereof a seat at the table to be stakeholders of Guyana. So when we say what we want to happen, we must be proud and partakers of the system that makes us strong as Guyanese. We want as a people and as a nation and as a black people to live side by side with each and every ethnical race that becomes and takes up the land masses of Guyana to become Guyanese. So I don't want anybody to misinterpret me and say that I am racist. No, don't do that. I am a black Guyanese. For the history of the world shows that when you're a man that has this skin color, the stronger, darker pigment, they try to erase what you have come with, your faculty, your education, your knowledge, your awoken spirit. The constitutions and systems of the world has designed to choreograph the shots to enslave a people that looks like me, that are called the black man or the Negro or the African man, because we were identified from a place that are predominantly like me. So I want to say to my fellow brothers and sisters who are living out there, I want to talk to those who are enslaved by a system that I call slaves on my show. That freedom is beyond money and possession of wealth, because the earth still belongs to us. We have come into this world with three inalienable rights: the right to liberty, the right to life, and the right to property. We have already born to what is owed to us to make us comfortable. So the lands that we seek and the monies that we want and the wealth that we want to gain will profit us nothing, becomes a tingling brass. For the wealth of a man is not what he builds, gains, or buy, but the ability to change lives. We don't want to accept handouts. We don't want to accept hampers. We don't want to be fed what you have desired and designed to keep us in the ground. We want a self revolution. We want to gain our own. We want to create our own system. We want to live side by side of each and every ethnic race in this world. We want an equal playing field so that we can sit down and say, well, life is given to us by an almighty supreme being to enjoy the benefits and the fruits of living life, to go on to the other spheres of this universe. We do not want to live in fear and oppression because of one man who thinks by the time he wakes up or we wake up, it's going to be other way around. We never want to enslave anybody, but it's the races who enslaves us, like the slaves that are talking on the social media and then calls us racists. How can a black man be racist? The system was never created for us to enjoy any raciality privilege. Or, sorry, the system was never created for us to enjoy being privileged or a privileged black man. We lived by a European system all day long, all year round. The entire system that we live by, it is created by the Europeans. How now can you, who is a regurgitator of the European system, can sit and watch and look at your fellow brother and says, he is a racist? Well, I cannot blame you. I cannot. For it is written again, we cannot continue to send our children to Caesar for education and be surprised when they come home as Romans. We cannot. So those who dwelled in the People's Progressive Party, under their strength and dismayed authority of dictatorial style, and accepts their monies and think they're wealthy and rich and they think that is life, that is not life. That is enslavement, because I give you something, you have to obey and understand what I say. You render to Caesar what is Caesar. So you can only be a regurgitator of words you know not of. So does the People's Progressive Party, because when a black brother like myself opens his mouth to differentiate, try to distort or to defame another black brother like himself, it is because he's being paid to do that. And when you're being paid, there's a cloud that is being pulled over your eyes, so you were unable to see the psychological and physical welfare of the human being. Because that is what we are, a human being of the darker races. So I wanted to sit here tonight to help to educate you who Gavin Matthews really is. That's who I am, and I'm not going to shy away from it. I am not going to run away from it. I will embrace the darker, because to be dark is not to be evil. To be dark is to be colored. White, light, all of these things are colors. They're not a differentiation of a human being. We are darker in complexion. That is because of the pigmentation of our skin. We are the only ones that are on the earth that carry something different from all the other races in which we carry. It's a pineal gland. That pineal gland is what creates all the other races that we see on the face of this earth. That is what it's there for. So we become fathers and mothers of this earth. And we kind of catch a frenzy when people like me, who represents us, are people that looks like me, wants to talk difference about the individual. Well, hey, you don't have to look any further, because I'm taking the time to let you know this is who I am. I stand for my people. I represent them, and that is those of the darker race, those that are called black people of Guyana, because we had suffered and we are still suffering under a dictatorial, oppressive system that is run by the People's Progressive Party. You cannot reject the fact. You want to talk about support to the business community? What has the business community have done when 1,480 Guyanese would have died and disappeared? How would they have helped us? They stand aside and watch us being murdered, butchered in the streets for 12 years by one man who's responsible for all of that, Barrett Jack Dio. And up to now, they have never held him responsible for his actions. They have never done a thing. He has butchered his own people, his own constituencies of an ethnic group of people that he claims to be a representation of, and stand aside and did nothing up to now. Nobody spoke, but when I speak on behalf of all Guyanese. But as a representation of my people, I make sure that it's understood. It's not being racist. It is being ethnically identified of all the carnage that has been done to my people, and I must stand to represent them. Whether they never ask me to do it or not, I am not going to be the one who is going to stand in the willingness to accept carnage and terror. I will not be silenced and I will not go quietly into the night. I will stand against any system, any principality, any kingdoms. I will tear those walls down as long as I'm given life for tomorrow. Read my lips. Read my lips. I will not surrender to anyone. I will not take any money that are carnaged and that are dipped in blood. You call it blood money. I will never give up a people for a piece of paper, a little ink on it. Because what does it worth? At the end of the day, nothing. You want me to quote the scripture? I will, for it says, what shall a man profit than to lose his soul, than to gain the whole world? Nothing. Because the world giveth you nothing. The world is designed so you can be comforted by it. You can walk through your second estate by it. That is what it's designed for. It is designed for you to come and born into this world with different ethnic groups and develop a relationship that is understood so you can experience what is it to be human. Those who step aside to terrorize other human beings are not human anymore. They have moved beyond that passage. They've already been spiritually dead. What would you gain? You would never receive Godship. You receive all the time disasters upon disasters upon disasters. I want those to understand, not because a black brother like myself stands another black brother a racist. History tells itself. And I'm speaking to those who are regurgitators of the system, who have gained a degree or a master's by the system, who wants to tear down those who stand against the system. Those are the ones that I'm speaking to. To become educated is not to be certified by those who teach you. The ones who teach you will not teach you freedom. The ones who teach you will never teach you what is it to be a revolutionist. You have to educate yourselves. You have to know to read and write. You have to understand what the system is designed and what is it about. You have to challenge the system. That is the only way the system will work towards the benefits of you. No system is good unless it is left unchallenged. So there's no good way. There's always a way of challenging to bring out the good from within. If you can't get it, you have to change one leader to the next to bring out the good from within. Do not let anyone take you down a road of mockery and disrespect. How disrespectful it is to call a black brother a racist when his entire life was being oppressed. His people, his family, his four parents, they had suffered under tyranny and slavery, abject poverty, rape, denial of an education, And not only that, but a denial to practice their own traditions, their cultures, their tongues that they spoke in was taken away from them as they were sold for coins and bits of pieces. And you can turn around and tell that man that he's a racist. It's impossible. So think about it, Mr. Bond, because primarily majority of the speech that I'm giving here tonight is based upon the things that you have said. It's amazing that you have taken yourself lower than the dust that you walked upon, than the dust you took yourself lower than the dust that you received, to discredit the same color of the dust that you were part of. I am not vexed because you regurgitated what is expected of you. That is life. It is reality. We can live with it. You talk about division. Believe you me, a house divided will fall. Yes, it will. But I will never stand with a slave to enslave others. You want to be a representation of a people instead of accepting the understanding of handouts. Let them take that same amount of money and grant scholarships to those who are in need of a proper education. Let them take that same money and grant seedlings to people who are farmers so that they can produce a strong economic community. Do not lead them into slavery because that is what handouts are. It will always enslave the mind of those who are not being taught to work, not being taught to be self reliant upon thyself to procure health, wealth, and good food for your family. We have to change the way in which we educate ourselves and our people. We have to promote good culture so they can form their own understanding upon what their culture is. We have to promote economic strength, not one man gaining the money. We have to teach them how to allow the money to work in circles so they can all develop. We have to shy away from the entertainment industry that tears down the black family because that is what it does. The entertainment tears down the black family because it produces nothing. Put yourself in a position. Ask yourself, where are you? Ask yourself, where are you on this block? What have you done so far for Guyanese? As I say again, I am not surprised of your actions. I understand. My thoughts, my words, and my actions, although they are primarily good, are begging for you to step out of the contract of slavery and enter into an understanding of upliftment of the human being, to be a pinnacle, to be that light that cannot be hidden. We are all leaders of our household. We are all leaders of our family. We are all leaders of our community. That is who we are. We came from a land that was uncolonized, that had no borders. Until the colonizers came, we lived in unity. We identify ourselves by the house of the names of who we are instead of a man of a country. That was our identity. They took that and plagiarized it and fed it back to us so we can regurgitate what they have taught us. They will never teach us the truth. So when you're involved in that, which is entertaining and nothing more else, we never teach anything to our young ones. We can't teach them the truth because there's no culture. Where is the culture? Guns, drugs, prostitution, and crime. Look at it. For far too long, we are being identified as criminals. The minute someone sees a black man, they see a criminal. Ask yourself that question. They never see us as anything more else. They never see it as anything more else. But money has no power. You want me to tell you why? I'm going to give you a simple example. For the leaders that has passed and gone had money. They had endless amounts of money. There's one man that I normally take his actions and bring it into the open. There was a leader that were called Slobodan Milosevic. He was the Yugoslavian president. And he felt that he can be as much a terror as he can to his people. One day, these people woke up and said, no more. That was the end of him. I'm saying to everyone who's looking now, money will always encourage racial dictatorship, terror, mayhem, and death. It will always encourage it. It will make a brother turn on you. It will make a brother do 360 degrees because he know not of the wealth in which he has, and the wealth is his education. As I say, the wealth of a man is not what he builds, gains, or buy, but it's the ability to change the lives of those in a positive way. That is where the wealth of that man stands and lies. And you check all of those persons who were freedom fighters, who stood up for the rights of those, they had a whole lot of wealth. The knowledge, the wisdom, it was sheer power. Can change a nation overnight. That is wealth. The ability to stand strong and identify yourself as a leader. And to recognize where you stand as a leader and for your people. That is wealth. And I must applaud you and thank you for recognizing me. Because it's a long time I haven't heard my name. To those who are now joining, I must say thank you. To those who are joining me from the radio station, the GMS Live Radio Guyana, that is online radio. And for those who are joining me from the GMS Live Voice of Democracy here on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, I must say it's been a pleasure. And I will keep on making it that way until I die. And I must say to those who hate me to remember this. I will be a scar upon your racial memory that you will never forget. Gavin Matthews will be talked about thousands of years after. I will be I will be a subject in universities to come. Believe you me, I will tear down your walls and I will identify you to the world of who you are and the system that controls you. Guarantee you that I will be that scar upon your racial memory. You will never forget me. When it comes to Gavin Matthews, you either do two things: educate yourself or create an hate speech so you can tell the world of how great I am. I am legend and I will be legend. I will remain legend. I will not give up. I will continue to fight that fight. I will continue to fight for a people, your own brothers and sisters that you fail to recognize. I will continue to fight that fight. Your own brothers and sisters who you fail to represent, I will continue to represent, whether they like it or not, because I am one of them that identifies the system and refuse to allow tyranny, mayhem, terror, and oppression upon a people who have never asked for it. You can imagine the system is so terrible that it can make a black man kill himself by doing what? Calling himself a thug, calling himself a nigger, calling himself a dunce thug, calling himself skull. All of these things are a preparation for your death. When you acknowledge it and you dress like it and you act like it, when you identify yourself as being a part of a beer garden and you sit down and you consume all that alcohol that tears you up at the end of the day, that when you get home you cannot attend to your family because you're under the influence of a spirit that is intent to kill you. You cannot be a role model because all that you practice is death and mayhem. Getting onto the airwaves up on the social media and talking all these ugly filth is still preaching death and mayhem. So how do you expect a people to rise with your thoughts and your carnage of speech? When you identify those who look like you as racist, when you yourself know that history has given you the facts that we could never become a racist people. We could never become a racist people because we were enslaved. And to my East Asian brothers and sisters who are looking at my program, to those who support me, I want you to understand me very carefully and clearly. My duty is to teach a people that has never been taught before, or has never had the opportunity to hear someone represent them before. That is my duty. And to teach them that we can arise and rise up to be a better being, human being, not only to ourselves, but to all those who depend upon us. To my East Asian brothers and sisters, Gavin Matthews, says that we must be economically and beneficially given the opportunity to stand side by side of each and every race of this country and proclaim the benefits of Guyana, to be stakeholders of Guyana, That is what I fight for. I don't fight for division. I fight for recognition. I don't give out hate speech. I do things that are positive. I don't want to be unrecognized. I want to be recognized. I want my people to be recognized. I want when you approach us, the respect is there. That is why I sit here and I talk about it. Then, when I finish talking about it, I talk about every Guyanese and the benefits of receiving the same thing that what we seek. We are not a racist people. We could never become one. The system is so racially designed that we could never become racist. We could never become slave masters. The system is so designed that we can only be slaves. That's what the system is. Some of us can say we rise to the position, but look, when we rise to the position, what happens? We still become slaves. We become attendants to our masters. And the People's Progressive Party will always, always push the racist button. Thereof and the slaves thereof. That is what I call them. They are a racist party that has racism embedded in their DNA and slavery to carry out their racist apartheid system. That is what the People's Progressive Party does. And they will always put people out there to distract you. They will always put people out there to tell you that they're not the same type of people that you think they are, but they are. They're a racist group of people, and they have their slaves that work with them. Money is not all. Money was designed to give you a comfort of life. When we take money now and make it designed to give us a product of life, well, then that's when everything goes overboard. It was designed to have fair exchange of labor, property, and of objects. It was supposed to be a legal tender note to do those things. It has gone different now. People's lives are being ended because of money. That's what happens when greed takes you over. You see nothing but strictly money. You have lost your culture, your right to life, your right to identity, your right to power, and your right to representation. You lost all those rights because of money. That is what it does. We has never had the opportunity to hold such power. That is why we fight each day for survival and recognition and a representation. We fight. We go to sleep fighting and we wake up fighting. And there are those who are employed to tell you that you have no right to fight. There are those who are employed to tell you that it is against the law for you to fight for your own rights. There are those who are employed that will take you to the courts to take away your rights and take away your life. That is what I said all the time. When I'm here on my show, I will die. You ask me the question again, I will say, I will die for the right to life. Because instead of live for nothing, I prefer die for something. So when the brother or any brother rise up to call us racist, please do remind them that is not within our DNA. We have never been taught that. Tell them that they are lying. My other part that I want to talk about tonight is the Sovereign Wealth Fund. Guyanese, I'm talking to all Guyanese now. The PPP has no intentions for you to gain or to profit from the monies that they will borrow from that they will borrow from the monies that they will borrow upon that sovereign wealth fund. We have nothing to gain. It's time to speak out with a loud voice. It's time to speak out with one voice. One people, one nation with one destiny. To stand up and to say with a loud voice no to slavery, because that is what we will end up into. Our entire population of all the ethnic groups will go into slavery once nobody can be held accountable for their actions upon the natural resources fund. We will experience slavery. We will experience all the types of slavery because it is intent to enslave a population so they cannot ask for anything that belongs to them from a terrorist regime. That is what terrorists do. They enslave and oppress all those who oppose them. And they have their slaves that works with them. They give them a little money and they butter their mouths so they can stand up and represent oppression and slavery. And you know what I call them? I call them houses. Because that is what we're ending. That is what we're being projected to end up. Guyana will be for a long time after the emancipation and the proclamation of slavery. For a long time, we will now be practicing slavery, modern day slavery. It's already here. It's already here. Simple. Let me show you why it's already here. Last year, the de facto regime gave the public servants 7.5% retroactive on their salary. 7.5%, $4,500. And they said they didn't have enough money to give public servants. They went to Parliament. They passed an emergency expenditure. Look the difference. 135 million US, $27 billion was passed and to be given to the private sector. Look at the emergency. It wasn't designed for the public servants. Who are public servants? It was designed for the private sector, who are the slave masters. So I'm right. I'm on the ball. Because you give a man who has billions of dollars, hundreds of millions more, to do what? to oppress the smaller man because he has to become and stay oppressed. He has to remain in shackles and slavery because that is now what is being taught as an example. That is what is being out there. That is a prime example of what slavery is. You can imagine you pass a budget for 27 billion, not a budget, an emergency expenditure, 27 billion Guyana dollars to be given all to the private sector. And tell the public servants, I could only give to you 7.5%, $4,500. And that's all you're worth. What are you telling me there? Is that rising people out of the economic constraints they're in or to it? Because cost of living has risen to a fact where prices are not being reduced, it's being escalated every single day. Then when you finish, you're trying to tell us now, well, we can sorry for y'all and give out some hampers. Because that's all you're worth. $4,500 on your salary and a $7,000 hamper with some rice, sugar, a wine, piece of cake, little fruits, and that's it. That's all you're worth. That's all you're worth. And that's all they intend to do. Give you what they think you're worth. That's how a master treats a slave. When there is a slave rebellion, like Gavin Matthews, then I'm breaking the law. I'm being arrested. I'm being paraded in front of the court for causing an emotional distress to a child who that child has used the public media to degrade and disintegrate the black man. Calling him worthless. They're not a product of their community. Embarrassing them on national radio that is run by the house slaves who they're in charge of. That is what we're filled with. When the Constitution tells you that you have the right to freedom of speech, it only suits those who, when they want to make themselves known, that is the slave masters. They have the right to freedom of speech, but we who are the slaves doesn't have a right to speak. Well, hey, I sorry for you. I ain't no slave. And I'm not going to sit down and accept slavery. I'm going to revolt and rebel. It's a slavery revolution. Hold on, Mr. Navichan. You, since you come the first time, I'm gonna block you. Don't worry. Oops. Right. I want everyone to know who are looking that Gavin Matthews doesn't have the time for nonsense. I got the time for a people and a nation to free them from the clutches of the PPP, freedom from terror, freedom from mayhem, freedom from slavery, free them. I want to free them.
from racism. I want to let them know that I'm willing to stand up for them and fight for them. I am willing to say to everyone that it cannot be business as usual when we are not being given the opportunity to become stakeholders and business entrepreneurs. We're not being given that playing field so that we can expand. Because when we start expanding, suddenly we become against the system. It's not supposed to be. When a black man stands up and becomes a leader, not only for his people but the country, suddenly he's a tyrant. Suddenly he's a thug. When you got individuals who sitting down there who are responsible for thousands, hundreds of people who have died, and no one can give an answer until now. We got the same people who are back again, who are trying to rape the treasury for their own gains and financial needs. So nobody else doesn't want. Imagine we got a chatry who's sitting there to tell us it's impossible to share the money away to the nation, but it's good to share the money away to three and four and five persons because they're better off than a nation of 450,000 people. That's the voting population of Guyana. And we sit down and accept it. Guyanese, there are a lot of things. There's a lot of things that is happening more important than the stupidness that is being propelled in the social media and on the radio, on the airwaves, and all these things. It's more important that the entertainment system that is distracting you. There's a lot of things that are going on right now that if we do not be focused upon what is affecting us, we will be enslaved. And to be enslaved is to live in abject poverty. And to know where a nation or a group of people or community are enslaved, you look and see the crime, the narcotics, the prostitution that arises out of that village or community. You look and see what will happen to Guyana because a people who finds nowhere to get economic sustenance from will resort to things that are destructive to themselves and to their souls. We cannot sit down and accept this thuggery anymore because it has met its meter. It has met its meter. Hmm. You know, it's been a pleasure to be sitting here for nearly 2 years. March coming, and don't hesitate, March is right around the corner. We'll make it 2 years that I'm on the social media network 5 days a week, 1 hour and a half for each day for nearly 2 years, talking to the people. And I want to say to you this tonight If you are of a different ethnic group and you sit down and allow the People's Progressive Party to continue oppressing the black population and you say nothing about it, please, it's time you do, because it is happening all over again. If you are of an other ethnic group and you're witnessing the carnage that are being allotted to the black population of the People's Progressive Party, and you say nothing, it is time you do. Because my intentions and our intentions as a people is to strive for success, to strive for independence from terror and tyranny, to wake up and awake my people so that we can live side by side of each other and proclaim the glories of this wonderful land. It is not by entertainment. It is not by grand speeches. It is by hard work that we help each other to recognize that we are Guyanese. Doesn't matter which part of the ethnicity we stand, we are Guyanese with one people, one nation, with one destiny. But we cannot be that if we have another ethnic group at the bottom scale of the ladder. And when they try to reach up and to come out of that disparity that they're in, you're pushing them down more with the actions of the PPP. And tell yourself now you're one people, one nation, with one destiny. Oh no. A people in oppression will always rebel. A people in slavery will always have a revolution. A people who have been murdered will always rise up and stand against tyranny and terror. A people who have been kept out of society and economic ways and success from a country will always strive with a clenched fist to stand up and recognize, for you to recognize them for who they are. That is what I'm doing here. Letting the world know that all this that I'm talking about is being practiced upon the black community, the black people, the darker races of Guyana, or the Afro Guyanese. I want to remind you tonight, before I close, and I want everyone to listen. We cannot continue to send our children to Caesar for their education, prize when they come home as Romans. Let us educate our children with the independence of success and liberty, and it comes with hard work and self reliance. Let us not teach them to be dependent upon those who have it all, because they are going to be enslaved. And that's what happens. When a man and a woman has money, lots of it, they will always want to be more richer than yesterday. And people will be enslaved in that process so they can become more richer than yesterday. I want to say thank you to those who have joined me for the past hour and those who would have spread this message and shared the word. I want to thank those who have joined me on the GMS Live Radio Guyana, and the GMS Live Voice of Democracy. I want to say to you to stay tuned and keep on tuning in to Gavin Matthews' show, 7:30 each day until 9 o'clock, 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. in the night until when the time would have been changed back so we can suit those in the diaspora. And I want to remind you that it's because of the love of country I do what I do, and because of the love of a people that are being oppressed that I stand to represent them. I want to say to you to stay safe, be careful, sanitize yourself, wear a mask. Don't forget the little ones you take into public places. This is Dr. Matthews saying good night and Cheerios for now.